Choose Your Energy podcast. My name is Linda Lange and I'm your host. In this and the next episode, I'm going to tackle a really big emotion that can influence our life without us not even being aware of it. You know, I love to talk about manifesting and creating the life that we want. And unworthiness is one of these fundamental emotions that can sabotage all the efforts that you're putting in to manifest something, and you might not even be aware of it. So stay tuned. The topic of worthiness and unworthiness is very personal to me at this moment. I had the insight coming through in one of my meditations recently that I want to feel more worthy to receive. It was a manifestation meditation. So I was working on manifesting something, and suddenly I received this message that I want to feel more worthy to be able to manifest. It was a huge surprise to me that I did not feel worthy already. But I never really thought that this was the case. I never considered that I did not feel worthy enough to receive what I tried to manifest. But that was clearly something that I needed to look at. And so I'm going to do that now together with you. So let's go. I want to concentrate on the feelings of worthiness and unworthiness in this episode and the next one. So over 2 episodes. These are not emotions that we usually talk about, but they do carry a lot of power, a lot of intention, and can have a huge impact on our lives. But most of the times we are not even aware of it. We don't talk a lot about worthiness or feeling unworthy. So I want us to have a good understanding of what it actually means, because we all have different understandings of what it means to feel worthy, or what unworthiness means, or what it feels like. And of course, our understanding is created based on the stories and the experiences from our lives. So we are going to start with creating a common concept of what unworthiness really means in this episode. One way unworthiness shows up in our lives is if you feel guilty or you punish yourself for being in your current situation. Maybe that is an illness, or you feel stuck. You blame yourself for being in that situation and you think that it is your fault. If there is something you want to create in your life and you have not received it yet, you might blame yourself for not having manifested it yet. Again, you think or you believe that it is your fault that this has not happened yet, or it is your fault that it happened to you, what you're currently experiencing. So if you have thoughts like that, like you need to punish yourself, or that it's your fault and that you feel guilty, you are carrying feelings of unworthiness inside of you. It's the underlying feeling of you feeling at fault, guilty, and being stuck in a current situation, like you want to punish yourself. The feeling of unworthiness is underneath it as well. So it is part of your life if you have these kind of thoughts and feelings. The other point, I talked about it before in a previous episode when we looked at the symptoms of imposter syndrome, and that is the feeling of not deserving, or the feeling of undeserving something. The feeling of unworthiness goes hand in hand with the feelings of undeserving. And it means that you don't think that you're enough that you don't think that you truly deserve what you would like to have in your life. If you feel undeserving of something, you are keeping it away from yourself. You want something and you crave it in your life, but if you don't really believe that you deserve it, you keep it away. It won't appear like that. And that is another way of how unworthiness can show up in your life. Another way that unworthiness shows up in your life is by limiting your potential based on your current status or your upbringing, your growing up. You might look at your life right now or up until this moment, and you believe that the circumstances, so the conditions in your life, limit you somehow. Let's say you believe that you were brought up poor, or that you did not go to university and that somehow limits you. You now feel unworthy to, for example, become the CEO of a big company or the next president of your country. You feel unworthy of a bigger future, and that is just based on the conditions that you currently have in your life or that you had in your life. But can you see that this limitation is just created in your thoughts, in your mind? Because we all know of amazing stories of people that have overcome hardship and harsh conditions in their life, and they made something out of themselves. They became famous, successful, and great leaders. And if they did it, so can you. If you have feelings of unworthiness, you are self-sabotaging your life. If you want to get a promotion at work, but deep inside of you, you don't feel worthy or deserving of it, you're gonna do things or you're not gonna do things to get that promotion or to not get it. See what I did there? You might not take actions, you might not take the right actions. And actually, what could show up is inaction in your life to get that or to receive that promotion. Quite often, this is displayed by us just not moving forward, just not moving towards the goal that we're having. We just don't take the right action to get that promotion, the thing that we want in our lives. We make excuses for why we cannot take the next step, or why we're resisting to step out of our comfort zone, or why it is just not the right time at this moment. And by doing that, we are not going to achieve that promotion, and we're going to keep feeling unworthy. You know what? The feeling of unworthiness inside of us needs to be fueled. It's a feeling that our body kind of got addicted to. It got used to it. It likes it. Our body doesn't like change. It likes to stay the same and wallow in certain feelings. And that can be as well for the feeling of unworthiness. And it needs to be fueled. It needs to get energy. And therefore, we stop taking actions. We stay in inaction. We make excuses. We say that this is just not the right time. And that all of that action, these feelings, the things we say, is the energy that fuels the feeling of unworthiness. It keeps it alive. It's like our body really is addicted to that feeling of unworthiness. And at some point, it just became the normal state of being for us. When I realized, and when I got that message in my meditation that I want to feel more worthy, I started to feel these deep hidden feelings of unworthiness inside of me. You know, I have worked for the last years on overcoming my old self, changing a lot of my behaviors, actions, and beliefs. and being more open as well to new possibilities, to new opportunities. I have practiced stepping away from my old self, stepping into the unknown to create something new, and trusting the universe that my life is going to be perfectly fine, that I'm going to be fine, and that everything unfolds exactly how it's supposed to be. That's what I have been working on in the last couple of years, quite a lot. So suddenly then to be faced with feeling of unworthiness was a big surprise for me. And it might be as well for you when you discover this, maybe after listening to this episode. It might be just lurking behind a lot of other stuff that you might already be working on. That's how it felt for me. And as if it was just waiting around the other corner to show up and say, hey, I'm here as well. I see it now as the next challenge, the next feeling that I want to let go of, the next program that comes up out of my subconscious saying hello, but it wants to be released now. And now I seem to be ready to work through the feeling of unworthiness. I'm amazed that I had that much of unworthiness even inside of me. I never would have thought so. I never felt it consciously before. It was really hidden to me in my subconscious. And that might be the same for you. Maybe today, listening to this podcast episode is actually the first time that you actually realize that you have as well a topic of worthiness and unworthiness to work through, which is perfectly fine, right? In the past, I always called myself as well really confident. I know that I do a good job at what I do, and I'm capable, I'm intelligent enough to reach what I want to reach. But now that I'm tackling bigger goals, bigger achievements that I want to reach in my life, this unworthiness has to come up. Because I need to deal with it. I need to work through these feelings and I need to release them if I want to be able to reach these bigger goals in my life. So I am glad that it came up. I'm glad that it's there and out in the open. I feel grateful about realizing that this is now something that I'm ready to face, that I made so much progress and I released so many of my other feelings that don't serve me anymore, that this one is now ready to come up. I'm now ready for something that I was not even aware of before, which is a bit crazy, but it's fantastic, right? It's great. And I'm as well so grateful that I am meditating every day, that these messages are coming through in my meditations to me. Because if I think about my past when I did not yet have that meditation practice, either these kind of messages wouldn't have come to me at all, or they were in my life, but I just didn't realize them. They might have had big messages through events that were painful or not very nice to me, but I just didn't look closer. So for me to be able now to receive these messages in my meditations, I'm just really grateful that I found my meditation practice and that I keep with it really. And being able to receive these messages now from my higher self, from the universe, to show me of how much I have developed and let go of a lot of other stuff that was more in my awareness, more in my conscious mind, that now I'm starting to receive stuff from my subconscious, that I'm now ready to work on something that I was never aware of in my life before. So if you are feeling unworthy, if you have now maybe a bit of a hint and maybe you have a bit of a feeling that there might be something there, maybe it's kind of a gut feeling or a sense that you might want to look at it as well. Take this podcast episode that you're currently listening to as your message to look closer, because it can destroy all of the hard work that you are putting into something. You might be working on something so hard, and maybe you even achieved already something, but maybe there is some doubt, there is some undeserving feeling still with you. And if that is the case, maybe everything you achieved already might turn back. You might end up again right at the beginning where you began, or you might self-sabotage yourself in a way. And we don't want that, right? No, we don't. So I hope this first episode has given you a good understanding of the feeling of unworthiness, how it can show up in your life, because maybe, like for me, it is still hidden. But like we said, if you feel feelings of self-sabotaging, self-doubt, undeservingness, then look closer at that, because there might be unworthiness as well behind it. And we, of course, discussed that this episode might be your message to look closer at it. So check in with your thoughts, look at your actions, and check in with your feelings inside of you. If something or one or several of the things that I mentioned in this episode apply to you as well. And in next week's episode, we're going to talk more about worthiness and how we can feel more worthy. What can we do in our lives to leave unworthiness behind and move to worthiness? So make sure that you subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening or watching me, so you don't miss next week's episode. Thank you so much for being here with me. And with that, I love you and leave you. Talk soon, and bye-bye.